I stood frozen at the podium, certificate in hand, as Savannah Langley strolled into the conference room. Every head turned toward her, the CEO's daughter who spent more time curating Instagram stories than understanding our software. My moment of triumph dissolved with the sharp click of her designer heels, each step like a countdown. "Excuse me, everyone," she said, slicing through the applause. "We've made a small adjustment to today's announcement." The room fell silent. 5 years of late-night launches, salvaged contracts, and cross-country client visits had led to this day my promotion to Senior Product Development Manager. Now Savannah eyed me with clinical detachment. "After review, we feel the role needs more experience," she continued. "Daniela Rhodes will be transitioning to assistant coordinator instead." A thin smile. "Consider it a reality check." The certificate suddenly weighed a ton. My vision blurred as heat rushed to my face. Gerald Langley, her father, and our CEO wasn't even present. My colleague Ben reached for my arm. I stepped away. "I wouldn't break not here." "The champagne and cake are still in the break room," Savannah added, glancing at her watch. "I have calls with our European partners in 15 minutes. Our European partners. My European partners. 6 months of building trust for our biggest overseas launch now in her hands." Awkward murmurs replaced congratulations as people drifted away. Inside, something shifted. A clarity I'd never felt before. I didn't know it yet, but this humiliation would become the turning point Savannah never saw coming. She had her father's name. I had something far more dangerous, and now nothing left to lose. If you're enjoying this story of corporate betrayal and what might unfold next, hit that like button and subscribe for more workplace dramas that will keep you hooked. And tell me in the comments, has anyone ever tried to take credit for your work? I read every single one, and I'd love to hear your story. Before that day, colleagues called me methodical, dedicated, maybe too accommodating. I was 44 years old, raised in a small Arizona town where my father ran a repair shop and my mother taught math. They taught me hard work and precision. Neither prepared me for corporate politics. My father's repair shop taught me the value of knowing your tools and stock better than anyone else. My mother, a high school math teacher, drilled into me the importance of checking every figure twice. Neither prepared me for corporate politics. I joined Langley Systems 5 years ago, fresh from my master's in international business development. The company was desperate to expand beyond U.S. borders, and my thesis on entering hesitant foreign markets caught their attention. I wasn't the obvious hire, no Ivy League pedigree, no family ties, but my research was solid and I was hungry. My first assignment was to figure out why our products failed in Australia. 3 weeks in, I found the culprit: our shipping partners stored goods in uncooled warehouses, ruining them before they hit shelves. Fixing it saved the company $3.4 million in my first quarter. From there, I quietly solved problems others missed. When our Asia launch stalled, I identified cultural tweaks that reignited sales. When tariffs threatened Canadian distribution, I found a legal loophole to protect margins. Still, I stayed in my mid-level role while watching less capable people leapfrog ahead, like Derek, who played golf with Gerald Langley, or Weston, who'd gone to school with the board chair. And Savannah Langley, who spent her first year observing before being named a director. I believed merit would win. I was naive. The day before my promotion ceremony, our largest potential European partner emailed, "Your market analysis is the most comprehensive we've seen. We look forward to tomorrow's presentation." The deal was worth $42 million in first-year revenue. I'd spent months uncovering a legislative loophole offering huge tax advantages, a detail not yet public confirmed by trusted regulatory contacts. This was my masterpiece. Now, apparently, it was Savannah's. After her public demotion stunt, I went straight to HR. Elliot, the director, greeted me with forced neutrality. "I'd like to understand why my role changed," I said, steady. He sighed. "Daniela, her father owns the company. What do you expect us to do?" And in that moment, I had my answer. Position changes happen for many reasons, Elliot began. Elliot, I cut in. We've worked together for 5 years. Let's not pretend this is normal. He exhaled, shoulders slumping. I get it, Daniela, but her father owns the company. What do you expect us to do? The overhead light flickered, throwing shadows across his apologetic face. So merit means nothing, I asked. Merit matters, he said carefully, but family matters more. I had my answer. In the elevator back to my floor, my phone buzzed. A text from Ben. Savannah just emailed everyone. She's taking over your European presentation tomorrow. Says she'll handle it personally. I froze. That deck held months of my research on the regulatory loophole, the key to locking down our competitive advantage in 5 countries. If she presented it right, it could secure the deal. If she didn't, disaster. Another buzz. She's in your files now, copying everything. Of course she was. Why steal half a victory when you could take it all? I reached my desk, soon to be exiled to a cubicle in the corner, and found Savannah in my chair scrolling my computer. She didn't even glance up. I need your presentation notes for tomorrow, she said. They're all in the shared folder, I replied evenly. It wasn't true. The latest updates, including the confirmed accelerated regulatory vote, were still in my personal notes. I'd planned to add them during my final review. If you've been with me through this journey, you know this isn't the end, it's just the turning point. The decisions I made after Savannah's downfall opened doors I never imagined, and in the next chapter, I'll share the unexpected challenge that tested whether I'd truly learned how to lead without fear. So if you believe in standing your ground and letting truth and skill win out over politics, hit that subscribe button now. That way you'll be right here when the next part drops. And trust me, you won't want to miss what comes next. Perfect, she said, rising. Start moving your things to the assistant coordinator desk. At the door, she smirked. If you'd networked more, this might not have happened. All work, no play makes you replaceable. As she walked away, my desk phone rang. It was Veronica from the European Regulatory Commission. Daniela, I've confirmed it. The vote is next week, not next month. If you want to use the current framework, filings must be in within 10 days. 10 days. Not the 6 months everyone believed. Thank you, Veronica, I said, already, feeling the gears turning. This is incredibly valuable, Veronica said. I'm only telling you because you've done your homework better than anyone else approaching our markets. Will I see you at tomorrow's presentation? I hesitated, gripping the receiver. I'll be there. But there's been a change in presenters. After hanging up, I sat still. The right thing would be to upload this new data to the shared folder, giving the company every advantage. But as I watched Savannah showing off my presentation to onlookers, another option crystallized: do nothing. The idea both scared and thrilled me. I'd never deliberately withheld information, but I wasn't presenting. I was being demoted. My work was being stolen. What did I owe them? That evening, I stayed late, quietly packing my desk while the office emptied. The hum of the air conditioner was my only companion. Through the glass of the corner conference room, Savannah rehearsed. She stumbled over technical terms but never lost her smile. She truly believed confidence could replace competence. My phone rang. Daniela Gerald Langley's voice was smooth. I just heard about today's announcement. I was in board meetings all day. You didn't approve the change I asked. A pause. Savannah has strong instincts about organizational needs. The board feels she's ready for more responsibility. Your work will be appropriately managed. This isn't a reflection on your performance. Sometimes we make room for emerging talent. Emerging talent. She was 33, older than me. I understand, I said, though I didn't. Excellent. That's why we value you, he replied, just not enough to keep their promise. As I hung up, Savannah stepped out, spotting me. Still working. That's dedication, she said, all fake warmth. Quick question about slide 32, she continued. It mentions pending legislation but no specifics. Is there a supplemental doc? This was my moment. The accelerated vote changed everything and she didn't know it. Everything importance in the main deck, I said evenly. The legislation won't impact near-term plans. The lie felt unexpectedly sweet. The information from Veronica changed everything about our European market strategy. Without it, any presentation would be dangerously incomplete. I studied Savannah. Beneath her polished confidence was a flicker of unease. She knew she didn't fully understand my work, but trusted her name to shield her from consequences. Everything importance in the main deck, I said evenly. The legislation won't affect near-term plans. The lie felt unexpectedly sweet. Perfect, she said, relieved. That's what I thought. At the door she turned. You should be grateful. Assistant coordinator is more your speed. The senior role needs someone who sees the big picture, not just crunches numbers. When she left, I sat in the dim office knowing tomorrow she'd present outdated data to our European partners, the executive team, and the investment committee, leading them with full confidence into a costly mistake. And I'd watch. The next morning, I arrived early, taking a seat in the back of the main conference room. Executives filed in at 8:45. At 8:55, our European delegation arrived, led by Henrik, their silver-haired CEO. The investment committee, 5 people with the power to greenlight or kill the $42 million expansion, took their seats promptly at 9. At 9:10, Savannah swept in, wearing an outfit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. She passed out my handouts printed 3 weeks ago and began. I'm Savannah Langley, Strategic Initiatives Director, and I'm excited to present our European market entry strategy. For an hour, I watched her recite my work as her own. She handled the basic slides: fine market size, competitive landscape, product differentiation. The audience nodded politely. Then came the questions. These projections assume current regulations, Elise from the investment committee said. What's our contingency if that changes? Savannah's smile didn't falter. Our analysis shows regulatory stability. No significant changes are expected for at least 6 months. Henrik's brow furrowed. Are you sure? We've heard whispers of an accelerated timeline. Just rumors, Savannah assured him. Our sources are reliable, Savannah said. My stomach tightened. Veronica wasn't a rumor, she was the assistant director of the Regulatory Commission. The questions turned technical. With each one, Savannah's answers grew vaguer, her confident smile strained. When asked about tariff impacts on specific components, she gave a response so wrong I nearly gasped. Then Henrik asked the question I'd been waiting for. What's your position on next week's parliamentary vote on cross-border digital commerce regulations? Savannah blinked. Next week, our intelligence shows that's scheduled for next quarter. It was moved up, Henrik replied flatly. It's on the official calendar. The outcome will reshape market entry requirements. She faltered. We believe it won't significantly impact our projections. The room went still. Henrik leaned back, pen down. The investment committee traded uneasy looks. At the head of the table, Gerald Langley frowned. Perhaps Henrik said we should reconvene after your team reviews the updated timeline. The meeting ended in stiff handshakes and clipped goodbyes. Gerald pulled Savannah aside, his expression thunderous. Neither looked my way. Back at my new corner desk, small facing a wall, I listened as whispers spread the European partners were reconsidering. By mid-afternoon, the investment committee had postponed their decision. At 3:30, Gerald stormed from his office, phone in hand, Savannah trailing behind her, earlier swagger gone. My phone lit up calls from Ben Elliott in HR, the head of legal. By the time I checked, there were 96 missed calls and messages. The company was in full crisis. The European partners had delayed and were questioning whether we were competent enough to work with. The investment committee was reassessing the entire $42 million expansion. No one had connected the dots yet that I had the missing information, but they would. And when they did, everything would change. That night, I ignored the buzzing phone and stared at my ceiling, wide awake. By morning, a company-wide email announced an emergency board meeting at 9 a.m. My name wasn't on the attendee list. No surprise, assistant coordinators didn't attend board meetings. Still, I dressed with care that morning, choosing the charcoal dress I'd worn on my first day at Langley Systems. As I applied lipstick, my phone rang. It was Ben. "Daniela, where are you? Everyone's looking for you. Gerald's in meltdown and Savannah's been locked in the bathroom for an hour." "I'll be in soon," I replied calmly. "They've called an emergency board meeting. Henrik and the European team are threatening to walk. Did you know about the vote next week?" Lipstick paused mid-air. "Yes." Silence. Then lower. "Did you deliberately not tell Savannah I'm on my way? We'll talk when I get there." The office was chaos when I arrived, staff darting between conference rooms, faces tight. Elliot from HR intercepted me. "Thank God. The board wants to see you. Now." He led me to the executive floor, a place I rarely visited. Outside the boardroom, Gerald paced while two board members whispered nearby. Savannah was nowhere in sight. When Gerald saw me, he stopped pacing. His face, usually so composed, looked strained. "Daniela, we need to talk about the European presentation." Before he could finish, the boardroom door opened. Avery, the chairman, gestured me in. "Ms. Rhodes, please join us." Grave faces surrounded the long table. Henrik and two members of his team sat on one side, the investment committee on the other. Avery, silver hair immaculate despite the tension, addressed me. "You were originally assigned to lead the European market expansion, correct?" "That's correct," I replied, taking the lone empty chair. "And you were removed from the project yesterday after your position was adjusted?" I nodded. "Yet you attended yesterday's presentation." Why, all eyes were on me. I could feel Gerald's stare from behind. "I wanted to support the company's interests," I said evenly. "I've invested too much time in this project to abandon it now." Henrik leaned forward. "Ms. Rhodes, were you aware of next week's parliamentary vote on cross-border commerce regulations?" The room went still. This was the moment. "Yes," I replied evenly. "I received confirmation of the accelerated timeline 2 days ago." The board erupted in voices until Avery raised a hand for silence. "Why wasn't this included in yesterday's presentation?" I met his gaze. "I was removed from the project before I could update the shared files. The notes were in my personal research documents." Gerald's voice cut in from behind me. "All company work should be on the shared drive." I turned slightly toward him. The verification came in just before my demotion. I hadn't transferred the data. And afterward, no one asked me for updates. The silence was sharp. "Do you have this information now?" Henrik asked. I reached into my bag and pulled out a folder. "I do, along with a complete plan to enter the market before the new regulations if we act quickly." For the next 2 hours, I walked them through the changes, the implementation timeline, and the narrow window we had to establish presence under the current framework. Henrik's team scribbled notes. The investment committee exchanged glances. Avery studied me with growing interest. When I finished, he said, "It seems we have a significant opportunity, but we must move fast." "We can," I said, "but decisions need to be made immediately." "And who would lead this?" Henrik asked. Before I could answer, Gerald stepped forward. "Naturally, Savannah would." Ms. Rhodes, Avery interrupted. "Would you be capable of leading this initiative?" Through the glass, I spotted Savannah, at last, watching from a distance, her expression unreadable. "Yes," I said simply. Avery nodded. "The board will discuss next steps privately. Ms. Rhodes, wait outside." In the hallway, Gerald cornered me immediately. His voice was low and tight. "What game are you playing?" "What game are you playing?" Gerald hissed low enough for only me to hear. "No game," I replied calmly. "Just sharing what I know. You deliberately withheld critical information." "I was demoted and removed from the project," I said. No one asked if I had updates. His face darkened. You should have volunteered it. Like Savannah volunteered to take my promotion, I asked quietly. Before he could answer, Savannah appeared. Yesterday's designer outfit had been replaced with something muted. Her eyes were rimmed red. They're going to blame me for everything, she told her father, ignoring me. The board is furious, Gerald said, though his voice lacked conviction. Savannah turned her glare on me. You set me up. I did no such thing, I said. I just didn't fix your mistakes. You knew the presentation was incomplete. So did you, I countered. But you presented it as definitive anyway. Before she could retort, the boardroom door opened. Avery stepped out with Henrik and the others. We've reached several decisions, Avery announced. First, we'll proceed with the European expansion on the accelerated timeline. Ms. Rhodes outlined filing all documentation before next week's vote. Second, Ms. Rhodes will lead the project as Senior Development Manager effective immediately. Gerald started to object, but Avery raised a hand. Not negotiable. The board has decided, and my daughter Gerald demanded. Avery's expression hardened. Savannah will transition to our facilities management team. Her people skills will be useful there. Facilities management. Savannah's voice rose. That's janitorial work. It's administrative. Avery corrected. And perhaps educational. My father won't allow this. He's the CEO, Avery said evenly, who serves at the pleasure of the board, a board now questioning his judgment in personnel matters. The threat lingered. Gerald's face paled. Ms. Rhodes has work to do if we're going to meet these deadlines, Avery said. I suggest we all support her efforts. Within an hour, I was back at my original desk with full system access. Ben was assigned as my deputy. By lunch, we had a preliminary accelerated timeline ready. That evening, I checked my personal email. Veronica from the European Regulatory Commission had written, "Heard your presentation caused quite a stir. If you're leading the project, I can clarify anything before the vote." I smiled as I typed, "Thank you, Veronica. I am, and I'd appreciate your insight." The next week blurred into 14-hour days, constant calls with Henrik's team, detailed prep of filings. Savannah was absent. Gerald kept his distance. On Thursday, 2 days before the vote, Henrik visited to review our final documents. "I'm impressed," he said. "Your team's achieved in days what others couldn't in months. We're motivated to get this right," I replied. He studied me. When Savannah presented, I nearly walked away. Her confidence, despite such gaps, was alarming. She had limited time with the material I offered diplomatically. "You're being gracious," he said, smiling slightly. Gathering his papers, he added, "We have an opening in our executive team for someone who understands both markets. After this partnership is finalized, I'd like to discuss it." The offer caught me off guard. I'm committed to seeing this project succeed. Of course, just something to consider. After he left, I sat turning his words over. A week ago, I'd been sidelined. Now I was fielding international offers, all because I'd chosen not to speak up. Late that night, most of the office empty, I heard footsteps. Savannah stood at my desk, stripped of her usual polish, business casual, subdued makeup. "Can we talk?" she asked quietly. I gestured to the chair opposite. She sat, hands clasped tightly. "I've been assigned to the Belgrade office," she said flatly. "Facilities management for the Eastern European Archive. Belgrade, the most remote branch housing decades of forgotten paper files." "I see," I said carefully. "My father can't protect me anymore. The board's put him on probation too." She met my eyes. "You won. This wasn't about winning. Wasn't it? You could have told me about the vote. You chose not to." "Yes," I said. "Because you took something you didn't earn. You needed to understand the consequences. I've never failed before. That's the problem. Failure's how we learn. And what do I learn in Belgrade? That a name opens doors, but knowledge keeps them open." She nodded slowly, then stood. At the door, she paused. For what it's worth, I'm sorry about the demotion. It wasn't personal. It felt personal. It wasn't. It was convenient. I needed a senior role and yours was available. As she walked away, I realized to Savannah people like me weren't rivals, just props for her advancement. That clarity changed everything. The next morning, Avery emailed requesting a private meeting. When I arrived, Henrik was there. Ms. Rhodes, Avery began. We want to discuss your future here. My stomach tightened. My future Henriks proposed a new role, International Partnerships Director. We agree it should be yours with full authority and compensation. Henrik smiled. Your understanding of both markets is exceptional. This is unexpected, I said. Is it? Avery asked. You saved our most important deal, led an impossible timeline, and earned the trust of international partners. That's not unexpected, that's earned. You single-handedly saved our most important partnership and prevented a market entry disaster, Avery said. What about Gerald? I asked carefully. As CEO, wouldn't he need to approve this? Avery and Henrik exchanged a glance. There have been developments, Avery said. Gerald has decided to take an extended sabbatical effective immediately. The board will announce an interim CEO later today. The news stunned me. I see. Do you accept the position? Henrik asked. Yes, I said. Of course. After outlining the details, I returned to my desk in a daze. Ben hurried over. Is it true about Gerald? I nodded. How did you hear already? The memo just went out. Rumor is he's not coming back. He lowered his voice. The European crisis was the final straw. The board's been concerned for months, especially about his handling of Savannah. As the news spread, congratulatory messages poured in. By evening, my promotion was official. My name appeared on the executive leadership page. 1 week after Savannah had demoted me, I had an office twice her size, a team of 12, and direct access to the board. I had won. Yet the victory felt oddly hollow. That night, packing up to leave, I found a small box on my desk with a note from Ben, for your new office. You earned this. Inside was a simple nameplate, Daniela Rhodes, International Partnerships Director. I traced the engraving, thinking about everything that had happened. I hadn't plotted revenge or spread rumors. I'd simply stepped aside and let Savannah fail on her own merits. The ultimate revenge wasn't taking her down, it was rising above, while she collapsed under the weight of her own incompetence. 2 days later, confirmation came. Our European market entry was approved ahead of the regulatory changes. The $42 million expansion was moving forward. As I stood at my new office window, the sunset spilling over the skyline, my phone buzzed with a text from an unfamiliar international number. It's freezing in Belgrade. The archive facility is as exciting as it sounds. Congratulations on your promotion. I underestimated you. Won't happen again. I didn't reply. Some lessons are best learned in silence. 6 months later, our European expansion was outperforming every projection. Gerald's sabbatical had quietly become permanent retirement. Savannah was still in Belgrade, though rumors suggested she was looking for roles elsewhere. And me, I was thriving. The board respected me. My team trusted me. The fear that once pushed me to work twice as hard had evolved into the confidence to work twice as smart. When Henrik visited for our quarterly review, he studied me for a moment. You seem different, Daniela. More assured. I learned something important, I said. True power isn't in titles or family connections. It's in knowing your value and standing firm in it, even when others try to diminish you. He smiled. And knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. Exactly. People think revenge means elaborate schemes or public humiliation. I learned its purest form, creating success so undeniable that even those who tried to erase you must acknowledge it, even from their exile in Belgrade. The most devastating response to someone who tries to write you out of the story isn't fighting back. It's becoming impossible to ignore. I want to hear from you not just because I'm curious, but because stories like mine aren't rare. Many of you have been in the same position working hard, playing by the rules, only to have someone with more connections than competence try to take what you've earned. When Savannah stripped me of my promotion and claimed my work, it would have been easy to lash out or try to sabotage her. Instead, I did something that took even more discipline. I stepped aside. I let her walk into the storm she'd built for herself, knowing the truth would surface. And it did. That choice taught me something worth sharing. Your power isn't always in the fight. Sometimes it's in holding your ground, protecting your integrity, and letting results speak louder than retaliation. So here's where I ask for your voice. Comment below and tell me, have you ever had someone underestimate you, or worse, try to erase your contributions? How did you handle it? What did you learn about yourself in the process? I read every single comment, and I'd like to feature some of your stories in future episodes. And if you took something away from mine, support me and stories like this by hitting that like button, sharing this video, and subscribing. Every bit of engagement tells the world that competence, integrity, and quiet resilience matter. Most importantly, remember this. The most devastating way to answer someone who doubts you is to become so good they can't ignore you, and so grounded that their opinion no longer matters. That's not just revenge, that's winning on your own terms.